These totems rimming Trail Bay represent a wide range of peoples, those in seashell, salmon, and Narrows Inlets, and many more. They were raised from 1996 to 2000 to note the 10th anniversary of the Seashell Indian Band's self-government in 1996. Well, during Prohibition times, this cove was a special place to American rum runners. Smugglers would hide out. And earlier than that, during times when people were being smuggled for cheap labor, this was a place to avoid the Coast Guard. Over here, these little tiny islands make this place look like it's just part of the mainland. But really, it's a place that you could hide out probably for days. Now, these people smugglers would essentially chain everybody together, and these were mainly Chinese immigrants. And what they would do is, if there was any sign of the Coast Guard, they would throw everybody overboard. Sounds pretty cruel. Sounds like a pretty rough way to be introduced to the United States, which is where they were headed to find work down there. Very, very hard times. But at the moment, I don't think anybody's smuggling anything. I don't know about those guys over there, though. They look a little shifty. The 45-minute ferry trip from Port McNeill on Vancouver Island to Cormorant Island brings me to a place rich in First Nations culture and history. I'm in Kwakwaka'wakw territory, a place of contemplative yet stunning natural beauty, but one of conflict between the Canadian government and the Kwakwaka'wakw. You see, Alert Bay was a focal point in an effort to civilize the peoples of this area. Potlatches, giving ceremonies marking important times in the community were banned. The law banning the ceremonies was passed in 1884. In December 1921, 45 people were charged for violating that law when a potlatch was held on nearby Village Island. Regalia associated with potlatches was crated up and sent to Ottawa, ending up in museums and personal collections. Repatriation of these objects, such as masks and rattles, began in the 1960s, and many found their way back to Alert Bay and are on display at the Umista Cultural Center. The Namgish Big House is a center of the community of Alert Bay. Malcolm Island was the site of an attempt at utopia. The community of Sointula was a creation of a group of Finns feeling oppressed by life in Vancouver Island's coal mines to put together a place of harmony, which is what Sointula means in Finnish. The ideal society imagined may not have lasted long, where all things were shared equally, but Sointula still remains a place where those with independent spirits thrive, and cats and dogs have right of way. For a look at how rural British Columbia was in the early 1900s, I love riding to Kilby Historic Site just off Highway 7 between Vancouver and Hope. Thomas and Eliza Kilby opened the general store here in 1906, providing groceries and local news to the people of Harrison Mills. Until 1958, rail passengers would stop here too, adding to the social mix of this junction. Being surrounded by water, the area sits on a floodplain, which meant building on stilts and creating boardwalks to join up buildings. This is the mighty Fraser, going its way past Hope Centennial Park. Just walked down here from the motel, and I've just been thinking about the Kilby Historic Site. Just how interesting that was. To see what life was like about 100 years ago. To see how a community is so dependent on railway. When the railway was flowing through Harrison Mills, where Kilby was, life was great. Then when the CPR decided to move over to Chilliwack, over to the other side of the Fraser, Harrison Mills' days were numbered. Yeah, the railroad certainly determined a great deal of what communities survived and which ones didn't. Hope certainly has survived. It's always been a gateway community. In 1858, this place was a stop for prospectors who were going up to the Caribou gold fields in vast numbers, trying to get up there, find out their gear, find out how to get up there to the Caribou. If you're coming from Vancouver, it's a place to stop before deciding whether or not you're going to take Highway 1 or Highway 3 or Highway 5. Or maybe you go back down Highway 7, which I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Really enjoyed Highway 7. It's a really nice secondary highway, and it's brought me to this place.